Today we're going to be talking about our 500 series machines. We have a 501 here. We have the 527, which is a floor model of the same machine, plus we have a 522. I'm going to cover how to operate, assemble, lube, charge, sanitize all three machines today. On a 522, which is just a little bit different than this, the real difference is the dasher assembly. We have a long dasher because it has a different, longer barrel in it. The way this works is we have a blade holder that has a pin. We have a blade that has a dog leg that slides into the pin. Takes two of these assemblies. Once you get these assembled, you'll notice that there is a long pin and a short pin on these blade holders. You slide the long pin into the front, let it come back, and you'll find the hole where you can put it in and let it lay over. Same thing for the back one. Long pin to the front, let it drop into the hole behind it, and it lays right over. The stator rod gets lubricant behind the square head, and a little bit on the tail piece goes through the center. It's the same rear seal that goes on this that I'm about to talk about. So now I'm going to move on to assembling the 501 and 527 dashers. Okay, I'm going to take the blade and blade holder, align the pin into the dog leg, slide it forward, grab a dasher, long pin toward the front, align the back pin, lay it down. I'm going to set this down now and assemble the rear seal. Put the large end over your thumb. We're going to put this rubber piece, the thin web, into this groove here. So I'm going to get it back as close as I can. Take my two index fingers, push hard, and wrap it around to where it fits in. Next, I'm going to take some lubricant, my dasher assembly, three pencil eraser size blobs back here on this shoulder of the shaft. That's the only thing that we want getting lubricant back in this area. Do not lubricate the gray rubber part of the seal. It's a stationary plant. Spin it on. Grab the stator rod. Also a little bit of lubricant behind the square head, and just a tiny bit on this tail piece. It goes into the dasher assembly. Then I'm going to put this blade on top so that I don't have to fight getting into the barrel. Hold on to the stator rod, come up to the barrel, insert it all until I feel it stop. Then I'm going to, while holding on to the stator rod, spin this until it engages. That side's ready to go. I've put the second dasher assembly together. Next, I'm going to put the front plate assembly together. So I have two different kinds of plungers here. I have the outer plunger, which is just two round O-rings. I have the center plunger, which uses an H O-ring. For the outer ones, slide on the black O-rings into place. for the center one. This is the H O-ring. The way it goes on, grab onto it. It's much more pliable than the black ones, but you still want to treat it delicately. It is a pretty expensive part, so you don't want to be tearing it. You put it into place, down into the grooves that have been machined into it all the way around. Next, I'm going to take lubricant, put it on, top and bottom. I'm going to work it around with my finger, work the excess in between. This one is going to go into the center plunger. And we're going to align these slots with these holes for the assembly a little later. There's one. Grab my lubricant again. It's important that that HO ring goes into the center. If you don't assemble it that way, what happens is if you have chocolate on one side, vanilla on the other, the flavors migrate. Again, I'm going to line it up. Grab the third. And line its hole up. Okay, I'm going to take the three handles, put the balls into where we lined the holes up. These slots need to go along the edges of these slots so that I can get the pin through. Grab the fast pin, pull the handles up one at a time. Get them through. The next thing, I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to put the blue seals in. Now these blue faceplate seals, it's important to notice that they are made on a taper. There's definitely a wider end and a narrow side to it. We're going to assemble this with the wide end toward the front plate. The idea is we're assembling a cork that's going to go into the barrels and make a seal. So, wide end toward the back. Put it over, take your finger, slide it under the groove all the way around. It's very important that you get these under all the way around. Now we'll go for the second one. Wide side toward the back. And if you look at this assembly, you'll see that it's definitely wider at the base, the blue part of it. Okay, I have the blue seals on. I definitely have them with the wider part toward the front plate, the narrow end of the taper toward the front. Next, I need to put some lubricant on it so they can slide in. You do not want to lubricate these before. If you do, it allows it to squirt out of the way and it gets cut. So it's important that you get these blue seals on, and then you put some lubricant to where your finger easily slides clear around. We don't want this hanging up on the way in, getting caught. They're pretty easy to cut. So the next thing I'm going to do is make sure that my handles are all the way up, and I'm assembling it with the handles toward the top. If you do it the other way, like that, you're going to make a real big mess. So I'm going to align these square knuckles with these square recesses. So I get up close, I get it started, I lift a little bit, push it into the front plate, grab your knobs, start opposite corners. Now the important thing is I want to ease it on. I don't want to crank down one side and then the other. It will cut those blue seals. So I'm going to go cross corners. Okay, I have my front plate on. Next thing I need to do is assemble my two carb tubes. And on our machines, on the carb tubes, we write on there exactly what this is. This is for the 501 and the 527. So I'm going to take its little O-ring, slide it into place. Same thing with the second one, and verify that I do have the right carb tube. Slide it on. A little bit of lubricant on both, just a little. Doesn't take much here. Work it around the O-ring. Then I'm going to place both of these up into the mix pans, one in each pan. It needs to get sanitized. It's important at this point not to put it down into the hole. Last pieces to assemble are the mix pan agitators. It just takes a little bit of lubricant on the bottom there. If you put on too much, they don't want to spin. Drop the agitator down onto the pin. One of these each goes into the mix pan in the back outside corners. You'll know you're in the right spot because it magnetically will pull it to the spot if you're anywhere close. That's pretty much it for the assembly. Okay, I have already mixed up a batch of sanitizer, about 1.5 gallons for this machine. I just followed the instructions on the bottle. I'm going to dump a cup that I'm going to use in a few minutes into the sanitizer to ensure that it's clean. Mix it up and let it sit for a little bit. If you do that, it doesn't seem to foam as much. So I'm going to dump that into the machine. And I'm going to stop and listen for the bubbling. That means all the seals are in place. If you hear that bubbling, and you won't have a leak. It gives you an opportunity to make sure you're not about to make a big mess. Then I'm going to take one of the brushes we provide. I'm going to go around the edges of the mix pan and then actually down into the hole to be sure that anything that is loose in there down in that tube that I've got out, so it's a nice sanitized machine. Then I'm going to reach inside, grab the now sanitized carb tube, place it on top of the machine. Next thing I'm going to do is flip this to clean out for about a minute. Okay, the minute's up. Next, I'm going to drain all of the sanitizer out I can get. I'm going to pull some a little bit first through the center plunger to be sure that it's sanitized. Okay, I've drained all the sanitizer I can get out of this barrel. I'm only showing you how to do this all in one barrel. You'll need to do it on both basically simultaneously. So I have some mix. I have that cup that I sanitized. I'm going to fill the cup. Then I'm going to go around the edges of the pan, pouring just a little bit, but I'm going to leave this open. What we're doing is we're chasing the sanitizer out with mix. So a little bit just around the edges of the pan to get the sanitizer off the walls. I'm going to come to the front and dump the rest. And you'll see the sanitizer speed up as it's coming out. Now it looks about like it does as it was going in, so I'm going to stop. Take the rest of the mix. I'm going to wait for it to quit bubbling. When it does quit, we have the correct ratio of mix and air. The carb tube will maintain that throughout the daily's operation. So I'm just going to put that into the inlet hole. I'm going to flip this to auto, put the lid on, and it's good to go. Okay, it's the end of the day. It's time to clean out the machine. What I have done ahead of time, just to speed this up, is I have emptied out the machine. I pulled the carb tube, got all of the product I could into a clean container, sanitized, covered it and put it in the walk-in for use later if possible. Then I took a container with 2 gallons of lukewarm water and a little bit of detergent. I left the carb tube up in the top so it could get rinsed as well. Poured it in, turned it to clean out. It's important you just go to clean out so you don't turn the refrigeration on and possibly break the plastic parts. I rinsed it through, and then I got 2 more gallons of water and I did it again. So now it's time to take the machine apart. I'm going to reach up in here, grab the carb tube. I'm going to grab a cloth, make a little bit of extra room down in the bottom so when I pinch and push up on this O-ring like this, there's room for it to slide up. Grab onto the O-ring, get it off. Going to grab the mix pan agitator. On its pedestal, it needs to come out. All those parts need to be washed. Next, I'm going to take off the front plate knobs. I have one of the many containers that Parade Plastic makes here that we can help to not make a mess on the drip tray here. I'm going to take the front plate off so I can disassemble it. Get a dry rag. I'm going to grab onto the sides of this blue seal, make it pucker to where I can grab onto it and get it off. Next, I'm going to turn the assembly over, pull the pin, but I'm first of all going to get these handles straight up and down. Pull the pin, pull out the 3 handles, grab onto the spigot plungers. That same thing I did with the carb tube, I'm going to do with these O-rings, and I'm going to start with the back one first. If I pull the front one out first, we'll roll the back one into the front and have to do this 3 times. So extra room, pinch, push, it puckers, roll it right off with your finger. On the center one, this HO ring is a little bit more delicate when those black ones. So I'm going to get the excess lubricant off, go over to a dry part, go to the back, same thing, pinch, push, roll it off. But take your time with it. It's easy to tear where one piece is molded into the other. It comes off. Front plate goes in. Next we have the dashers. I'm going to grab onto one of them, pull it out. I'm going to get the stator rod out of the assembly. I'm going to lift up, push forward, and get the blade holder out. Then I'm going to get this off of the pin by moving it along the dog leg to get this apart. Then I'm going to grab the rear seal on the rubber part and just pull on the plastic. This comes apart. It's important that this comes apart every day to get clean, to get the bacteria out of that little groove that gets trapped in behind the rubber. Both of these going to be cleaned. Same process for the other dasher. All of these parts go back into your kitchen to be cleaned in lukewarm water with a mild detergent. Never use bleach, an abrasive product, or the heat of a dishwasher. They will all make the plastic parts crack and craze. Then what you want to do is bring some mild detergent back in some warm water and wipe out the inside of the hopper, wipe out the inside of the barrel to both sides, and also anywhere where mix has got on the machine, get it off. It comes off very easy at the end of the day with warm water. If you use Scotch-Brite, it will scratch up the machine and it won't look nearly as nice. Remember, you're dealing with an electrical appliance. Do not get too much water on or around this machine. It's possible to get shocked. If you need a tune-up kit, and we recommend them every 6 months for your 501 or 527, included are the scraper blades, the blue front plate seals, all of the O-rings, the HO ring, 2 rear seal assemblies, a brush, and a tube of lubricant. The tune-up kit for your 521 and 522 that we recommend you replace the parts every 6 months is part number 188247. Included is the brush, rear seals, the HO ring, all the other O-rings, the 2 blue front plate gaskets, a tube of lubricant, and the scraper blades. If you need the center spigot plunger for any of our 500 series machines, the part number is 188481, which includes 2 HO rings. If you need the outer spigot plunger for any of our 500 series machines, its part number is 188480 and includes 2 of its O-rings. For the 522 and 521, the stator rod part number is 109296. For the 501 and 527, the stator rod part number is 109297.